Well, first up, the Ghana Business Consultative Forum is making a passionate appeal to President Kwawu to consider reviewing the new tax measures that were recently passed by Parliament. Now, according to the businesses, they are already overburdened from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's war against Ukraine, and they can't afford any more taxes. They held a press conference just ending a while ago. Joining me from there, my colleague Pius Kujobaka, with more from there. So Pius, which business groups form the Ghana Business Consultative Forum, and what are their concerns? Okay, we are trying to make the connection to my colleague Pius Kujobaka to understand what the concerns are of the Ghana Business Consultative Forum, which is a forum of various business groups who are against the taxes imposed or passed by Parliament recently. And as we've been indicating, those tax measures are very crucial for an IMF deal. The business community saying we can't afford these taxes, government saying we need those tax measures to pass the IMF deal. And so we are watching that space. We're going to try to get Pius Kujobaka on, but if we have tax consultant Francis Timoboy on Zoom, we can carry on to discuss this. Do we have him? All right, Pius, I'm told is live for us. Pius, so I was asking you what business groups form the Ghana Business Consultative Forum, and what are their concerns really?
All right, so Daryl, as you rightly mentioned, the joint conference came to a close some few moments ago, and this businesses group comprise the Beverages Association of Ghana, Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, and the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Well, their concern basically is that following the passage of the amended bills, revenue bills, there is a need for government to review the taxes because it's going to bring an untold hardship to the operations. Thankfully, we have the spokesperson of the group, basically the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and of course that of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Dr. Joseph Obeng, to help us understand why they called for the press conference and of course what this means to us going forward. Thank you very much, Dr. Obeng, for your time here on Joy Business Live. Now, quickly, tell me, what is the motive behind this press conference? First off, give us a fresh understanding to all of these.
We are appealing to the president and to revisit the whole tax issue. We are overburdened with taxes and we cannot take it. We disapprove the adoption of the bill at Parliament because we were not well consulted, and that we seek engagement with the government to build the necessary consensus that will help the generality of Ghanaians, especially the business community. Might not be said that we went for IMF program and all businesses collapse. That's not what we seek. That's not even what IMF is seeking for us. And that is why we are calling on the government to revisit the whole issue. The time is not lost. We are very much within time that we still re-engage with government. We are very positive-minded people. We are very patriotic, and we know the issues at stake. All that we seek is that we prefer a very prudent alternative that is not going to destroy businesses. As it were now, we are so much overtaxed, and just a few of us are paying these taxes. Taxes are being recycled along just a few people, and that we can even expand the tax net, and then with prudent, efficient, pragmatic system of tax collection, what we are paying is already enough, and the government can get even more. But that's not what we are saying. That is a recommendation. We know that when we sit down in Jojo, so many ideas is going to come from both sides, and we'll build a reasonable consensus that will inure to the benefit of the state and the business community at large. So we are appealing to the president of the state. And we know that he is a listening person, that he is going to heed to our call. That as soon as practicable, we do this so that we also put our input. It should not be said that we are practicing democracy of imposition. We are bored that. It shouldn't be done. Ghanaians are very, we tolerate issues But these things are going on. It shouldn't be said that we are imposing these things on us. We are a large segment of the Ghanaian society. The trading community is very large. And that if you all come together and say that this thing is going to finally destroy us, and we plead that we look into it, we haven't said anything that is bad. And that's what that we are seeking, that the president will just give us the ears, not the president, his government, that we all sit down and then build the relevant, necessary consensus that we can prefer and give as an alternative to the IMF. That will be very progressive rather than this obnoxious retrogressive task that is being imposed on us.
So, Daryl, that's the concern of GUTA and, of course, the joint business community. But it is important that we have to get a better appreciation as well on this matter from the president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So, Mark, there are concerns that, look, these issues you are raising is much ado about nothing because government has gone ahead to pass it, and government is racing against time to get the IMF board approve this whole thing. What do you say to that?
No, I don't think it's much ado about nothing. After the passage of the bill, the president will now have to assent to it. So our direction, our focus now is to get the ears of the government, to get the attention of the government, to call us to sit down. As he said, the government is a listening government. He knows the importance of business, the private sector. He knows the contribution of the private sector to the growth of this economy. And I think that based on that, he will call us. We are hopeful. From here, we are also sending a petition to him. We're going to knock at his door that we are ready to listen to him. We are ready to offer suggestions that will help us go forward instead of this obnoxious and counterproductive taxes. I don't think we are doing ourselves any good service if you go ahead with it. So we are waiting for the president's call. And I think, as it is, for the whole government, we are expecting that, and in that meeting, the Minister of Trade is there because it's a Minister of Trade. It's our ministry, the ministry that we deal with. And we were even expecting that the Ministry of Trade will come to us. Even if the Minister of Finance failed or refused to come to us, the Ministry of Trade should come to us and seek our concern based on some of these taxes. The Minister of Finance should also be there. So we can judge, we are looking for the best for this economy. That is all that we are asking for.
All right, so Dr. Bin, what becomes your next line of action after you've petitioned government and you don't hear anything from them? What becomes your next move?
What we seek is consensus that will bring proper solution to us, and that we should get. We believe that the president will do that. We believe that the government that he represents also understand the plight of the business community as well as the consuming public, and we know that they will have to heed to our call. If they do not do that, the business community, they will direct us what to do. And we will sit down again as businesses to confer and know the next line of action. Normally, we don't want to issue threats when we are talking like this. It's not maturity. That's why we want to talk and tone down the unnecessary threats and all that. But sometimes, if we are not listening to, and because we are also Ghanaians and we are equal stakeholders, and that the authority of the president is vested in the hands of the people of Ghana. Parliament does not represent itself, and that's the unfortunate thing, that Parliament did not respond to the calls that we made, the petitions that we presented to the Speaker and Parliament. Why did they not do that? And that they have to rush and post this in on us is disrespect to the generality of Ghanaians. And this is not how democracy should be practiced here. I don't want to believe that we are practicing democracy of imposition. We are equal stakeholders, and we belong to the private sector. Elsewhere, the private sector is deemed so important that they are recognized. It should not be said that in Ghana we are not being recognized. It's very much unfair. But I believe in the judgment of the president, and I have gotten so many opportunities he opens his doors, and I believe he's not going to close this one on us. And let's stay positive before you ask what line of action. Let's see what plays out.
So thank you very much, Dr. Joseph, for being here. Of course, Mark Bidwabwaji, the president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industries, helping us appreciate what happened here. So Daryl, back to you in the studios.
Pius, I want to bring in tax consultant Francis Timoboy to weigh in on this. Good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us on The Marketplace. And so I'm just looking at some of the solutions that were extended by the Ghana Business Consultative Forum. For instance, government should enhance its domestic revenue mobilization by widening the tax nets, not overburdening those already paying, sealing of the tax leaking holes, total abolishment of the tax exemption policy. These are some of the solutions they extended to government. They thought this could have been the other option rather than these tax measures that were passed by Parliament. Your thoughts?
Thanks, Daryl. And I think that anytime we go to IMF, you remember in 2015, certainly some drastic tax measures are taken. Either we introduce new taxes or we complement it with aggressive mobilization. So here I see government doing both. We have heard GRA doing some aggressive revenue mobilization, even VAT policing of some malls, and the rollout of the digital VAT invoicing. So while the government is pursuing that, I believe in their estimation, they think that that may not be enough to bridge the tax to GDP ratio. And that is why we are seeing these new taxes being introduced. But I think that the business community and the stakeholders have a legitimate concern. We missed the opportunity to get to a consensus, either before the budget was read or immediately after the budget was read. There should have been some engagement, but I think that we missed both. And that is where we are seeing the business community being too unhappy about what is going on.
Well, some say it's a little too late. Well, we're expecting that the president will give his assent to the bills that have been passed by Parliament. I don't know if he's going to give these businesses a listening ear, but there are also fears that this could result in tax avoidance.
That is true. I don't think it's too late. And even if it is late, in Ghana, we have two windows by which we can, make changes to our tax policies. July, which is the media presentation, we can always amend the tax laws if we think that it is too harsh. And in November, we can make proposals. So I think that the business community has still some chance to still engage. Again, it's advisable that anytime the budget is read, they shouldn't sit down and get to the latter part when Parliament is passing the bill before they start, engagement. I don't think it's the right approach. Do proper engagement even before the budget presentation. If Parliament or if the government is not coming out with what they intend to introduce, push and get to know what is in for you as a business. On the tax avoidance bit, I believe that anytime tax rates are high, people will always find a way out. And for me, I see a major loophole in the growth and sustainability levy. It is based on profits. So if I don't want to pay it, I will declare a loss. Even if it is a 1 cedi loss, I can still do it. And that is accounting loss. So people can always go around it. And if I don't need my financial statement for any serious analysis, people will always declare accounting loss. It is not a proper loss, but it's an accounting loss that they can always go around it. On the excise duty, it is likely to lead to smuggling. If people think that it's increasing prices of goods and services too much, they will find a way around it. So I agree that increase in tax rates and too much taxes will always call for people designing some strategies to go around it. And that's why I feel that government needs to engage the business community. At least if the rates are high, we can come to a consensus and meet at some middle ground so that they may buy into the idea that we need this money for IMF program.
It makes you wonder what the point is if the businesses are going to avoid the taxes and then the government wouldn't meet its target. It makes the whole exercise fruitless, doesn't it?
That is true. And even as we speak now, the projections, there are doubts whether we can meet them, because number one, the 4 billion that we are looking at, we are now starting in October and in what do you call it, April. So quarter one is gone. So even if you prorate it, we are unlikely to meet the 4 billion. Again, the economic situation will not permit companies to get the necessary profit that you are getting. Look at the domestic debt exchange on banks and financial institutions. Some of them have already declared losses. And these banks used to pay the highest in terms of the growth and sustainability levies. So if the economic situation is not too conducive for some of these taxes, we may not be able to meet the target that we've set for ourselves. I feel that if we are unable to meet it, we possibly have to go back to our expenditure lines and look at those ones that we can cut. After all, if your money is not enough, you just rearrange yourself and look at how much you can spend.
You say there's still an opportunity to review, but I guess the only language the government understands right now is the IMF program and the fact that they need to get it passed. And so I don't think they are going to consider any reviews. Are there any alternatives to put forward for the government to convince them to say, well, you can look at these options, these new tax measures are not really necessary?
So the obvious one would be the first choice, which is the domestic revenue mobilization. I think that the GRA needs to be resourced. The existing taxes, we have not complained, or even if we have complained, that is passed. If the existing taxes can be enhanced, compliance level, tax filing in Ghana is something which is, people don't even know about it. So if we make it compulsory and enforce the existing taxes, I believe that even if the new tax revenue measures are not able to rake in the revenue, the GRA will be able to get at least part of the target from the existing taxes that we have. And again, let me just comment on the possible revision. I think that yes, it's not lost yet. I know that they've signed this one just to get a IMF program going, but I think that July and November, when we are presenting the main budget, still present opportunity for government to review and for business community to buy in. It's better to get the buy-in of the people who are affected than getting a strong opposition and allowing them to find ways around it. At the end of the day, then your objectives will not be met.
All right, Francis Timoboy, tax consultant, I appreciate your time with us and your insight as well. Thank you so much. Well, let's move on and talk about the cedi. Good news, in fact, because the cedi has started the week on another strong note. It gained 3.11% to the US dollar last week to narrow its year-to-date losses on the forex or retail market to about 17%. The cedi also gained 1.18% and 1.95% week on week to the pound and the euro, respectively. What's accounting for the good performance, and what should we expect in this second quarter? Economic analyst at DataBank, Kwawu Komsen, joins me on Zoom to discuss. Thanks for your time, Kwawu. So what's your analysis of the cedi's performance for the first quarter of this year, and what's contributing to the good performance we are seeing?
Okay, thank you, Daryl. So on the cedi's performance for this quarter, we note that in the early stages of this quarter, the cedi endured pretty intense depreciatory run. That was mainly fueled by uncertainties of elevated sovereign risk. But over the past 2 months, we had seen some stability in the cedi, where it was just trading within about the 12.9 band to about 12 cedi band. Thereabout. But I think over the past about 4 weeks, we've seen the cedi really gaining strength, and that's the market's reaction mainly to if I should say, the good news that comes in as the government prepares or negotiates through the IMF view. Also, we observe that there have been some speculative reversals, as most of the market participants who bought the US dollar as a safe haven asset or as a store value are now reversing, since we see the IMF view as a bit imminent, looking at the news we got from the negotiations with the Chinese delegation, the Chinese Finance Ministry. And as such, it's a combination of improving sentiments as well as some speculative reversals or speculative sales that also boosting or supporting the local units.
And so what's the outlook for this second quarter when we anticipate an IMF deal?
Okay, so for the outlook for this second quarter, as we continue to anticipate an IMF deal, we observe that the government in the 2023 budget read reiterated that most often the budget will be financed by non-concessional loans, and looking at how these non-concessional loans would also boost FX reserves and also improve FX liquidity, in addition to the positive sentiment that an IMF would bring, relief the CBS and good stand. If nothing at all, at least it will still just stabilize, but it's on good fortune to continue strengthening this.
Well, the next hurdle for the government after the passage of the tax measures is negotiating with external creditors on debt restructuring. So could the outcome have an impact on the city's performance?
Yeah, most definitely. Because in negotiating for the external debt restructuring, what happens is that if you are successful, then you definitely reduce your debt burden or debt service burden. And case in point, in reducing that, you also reduce the strain on your FX reserves and the amounts that have to go out every year as debt services to debt. And you realize that these amounts could also be used to support the local units in the forex market. So successful negotiations on the external fronts is likely to boost prospects for the Ghana city.
There's been a lot of talk about the Gold for Oil program. How is that also impacting on the performance of the local currency?
I don't believe it has had a pronounced impact. It has had some, but not a pronounced impact, because you realize that the amount that we still import for oil, it covers just about 10 to 20% of our demand. And as such, you still see demand from the local corporates or maybe the BDCs for importation. So the Gold for Oil, yes, has reduced a bit of the strain on our FX reserves, but as much of a pronounced impact that we want to see, may not have had the pronounced impact that we are looking for.
And the struggle over the years has been to keep the city stable. Sure, positive news, but over time, then we see that the city begins to lose stability. How do we tackle that? Are there any warning signs to look out for?
Okay, so on the front of tackling the stability of the city, I think we look at it and we see that import dependency is quite a huge thing, and it prevents most of the strain on our currency. And as such, looking at how the government is discussing import substitution and value chain advancement, I think that's the way to go. Yes, and as well as being an oil producing country, maybe not by a whole lot, but at least trying to internalize some of the demand would also go a huge way in stabilizing the things. Because with such evaluation advancements, what it helps with is you show up your reserves with the amounts or the value added you receive on your exports. And additionally, what helps is that you also demand less and less of these intermediate products when you advance up the value chain. And then if you internalize some of the oil demand specifically, right, that takes away a huge chunk of the FX demand and the strain on your currency, which would also help stabilize the currency quite substantially.
Well, my last question, well, at the beginning of the last year, it was a single digit to the dollar, 7 cedis, I think. Will we ever get to that point sometime this year or anytime soon?
So looking at where we sit as data bank, financial services, or particularly looking at our forecast on the local unit. We feel a 7 cedi mark is a tad bit optimistic. Yeah. So we're looking at where we see things. We see it hovering around, say, in the 10 or 9.5 to about 11.5 range there. But looking at just a hardcore 7 just at the beginning of the year, that's quite optimistic. But all in all, it's still dependent on us getting the deal and then how we maintain or we keep on track with the IMF program. I think when we continue to do that, maybe not, if even not this year, moving forward, we can put ourselves up on the path of stability and show up our currency very much.
10 cedis, 9 cedis to the dollar. That's way better than what we saw towards the end of last year. Thank you so much, Kwawu Akokomsin, economic analyst with Data Bank. Appreciate your time. And that's the marketplace, everyone. Thanks for watching. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We leave you with our Money Lab episode for today.
Hi there, my name is Benjamin Opokuwari from Allianz Life Insurance. Welcome to Money Lab. In our previous episode, we talked about the claims process. On this episode, we'll be talking about some of the documents you will generally need to process a life insurance claim. For a life insurance, you need to fill the claim form. You will need an ID of the claimant, you will need a medical cause of death, or original receipt of medical bills incurred, burial permit, or a hospital discharge form, or police report in the case of accidental death. Remember, you don't need all the documents mentioned, just a few depending on the claim. Thank you once again for joining Money Lab. See you in the next episode.